for regular board meeting on February 17th, 2026, our treasurer's reports, our payment of bills for the Northern Kane County Regional Vocational System, the approval of our overnight trip for our state wrestling competition, the approval of our IHSA membership for the 2026-2027 school year, the approval of math team overnight trip, the approval of an overnight band festival Disney trip coming up here at the end of March, beginning of April next year, and a personnel report. So if I could have a motion and a second for the consent agenda.
Second.
And roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, next I need a motion and a second to discuss and approve the resolution for dismissal of part-time teachers.
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion or questions?
So just so you're aware, this happens every year. Part-time teachers, we non-renew, and then many of them we end up hiring back if they would like to come back. So it's just, this is a formality that we do with all part-time teachers.
And roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item is the resolution for dismissal of first, second, and third year teachers. A motion and second required to discuss and approve the resolution for dismissal of first, second, third year teachers.
So moved.
Second.
And questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, the next step is the approval of the Fox Valley Career Center joint agreement, and I need a motion and a second to discuss and approve the Fox Valley Career Center joint agreement for the 2026-2027 school year.
So moved.
Second.
And questions or discussion?
This, again, is an annual, just a continuation of a agreement that we have with Fox Valley Career Center.
Yes.
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 Yes. The next item is the DECA International Career Development Conference. Motion and second required to discuss and approve the DECA International Career Development Conference.
So moved.
Second.
And discussion?
So this is very exciting. This is the first year that we had DECA here. The students had come forward. You may remember last spring, Mr. Brooks and I met with them, and we wanted to see this take off, and they went to state, and we have 5 students that are actually going to go to the Nationals, or International Career Development Conference in Atlanta. So we're excited that this is the first year, and 5 of our students were selected here, so it's very exciting.
Very nice.
Awesome. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. And the next is our Mid-Valley Special Education Cooperative Classroom Use Agreement. Motion and second are required to discuss and approve the Mid-Valley Special Education Cooperative Classroom Use Agreement.
So moved.
Second.
And discussion or?
So this is an annual agreement that we update. This is really looking at the spaces. Right now, it indicates spaces in there. This is most likely where those spaces would be, but at least it allows us to say that we will allow Mid-Valley to have classrooms within our space, whether it's these or in other places, but at least we've got them, they know that they have room for classes to be held here. And our students benefit from these classes as well.
So along those lines, if it's determined as you go through enrollment for next year that you've got more space at another elementary building, something could move there?
It could, it's
yeah.
possible, right? I mean, we can always be looking at shifting. This is more of, it's kind of a placeholder to say that we will take 3 classrooms for the new pathways. We will take 3 classrooms for new pathways at a middle school, ELS, et cetera. It's guaranteeing that we will take these classrooms spaces that are here. Most school districts across, when they're involved with cooperatives, the cooperatives are always looking for space, and so they're just wanting a commitment that, yes, you can provide the space. They're less concerned about necessarily the buildings, more concerned about that, yes, we will provide classroom spaces.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Gorman,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Nervika,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Stoneman,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, next we're moving on to our presentation. First presentation.
So we have Nurse Joyce Turnipseed, who is here, who's our lead nurse in the district and also teaches our CNA classes at the high school, which is new this year, which is totally amazing. And thank you to her for the work that she has done this year to really build that program. We talked last week, and we've talked at CAT and at DLT and probably some other initials as well, about first day exclusion a little bit. Joyce is here to really present about what that means and what we are looking to do here in the district.
Good evening. Thank you for the time. Just presenting what we currently have and the recommendation of moving to first day exclusion. So currently, we follow the state of Illinois recommendation, or the statute, state code is October 15th. We are recommending to move to a first day exclusion. We, health services, and those supporting that. And the reason be it is we experienced a very rough year this year with exclusion being on October 15th, and it has continued every year to be a little more difficult. Our exclusion numbers go up a little more. And so what that would do is shunt October 15th to the first day of school. And that would impact our early childhood students, kindergarten students, 6th grade and 9th grade students, because that is the grades that the physical is required. Why is it important? It just really helps meet the legal health requirements. We're protecting staff and students. Getting those compliance in early also, it really moves the manpower that health services spends from the first 3 days before school starts till October 15th to we can take all that time, focus it before school starts, and then we know that we are compliant or we're not compliant, and these students are not allowed to start until they are compliant. The motivation with going to first day exclusion as well is in the beginning of the year, we're all excited, right? We want to be with our friends, we want to meet our teacher. When we get to October, we don't mind a couple days off while mom or dad calls around to try to get something that they were informed of back in March, April. Important for us is to remove barriers. So I have provided 3 local resources. I'm sure there are more out there, but these are the ones we are in contact with. VNA especially is very happy to work with us. Just spoke with him via email this morning. He is very willing, Sunny at VNA is willing to block off times just for D301 students to come in and get all their healthcare requirements on a specific day or a few days during the summer. So they only block appointments for D301 students. Just touch base real quick. What does the negative impacts that October 15th does? It really is disruptive. We have a student that is going along, and then October 15th, we do need to exclude them. My experience this year is we had about 40 to 50 sitting in the library. Then we moved them to a conference room, and so it's very disruptive to the whole building. These students are missing out. We've moved them from one area to the other. And then a lot of social, emotional. Parents were very unhappy of the separation, but it is school code, so we have no choice. There is supporting data out there, 2025, that supports why first day exclusion works. And they found that the one I'm most impressed with is 74% fewer exclusions over time reported by district. So that is huge. These are our neighboring school districts that already have employed first day exclusion and seems to be working very well. That first year will be rough, but we will get through it. And then once we get into that routine, it should be smooth sailing. The biggest recommendation for implementing this is, as health services, as a school district, we need to communicate the change out. Because a lot of what we hear in the health offices, they're like, oh, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that. We hear it a lot, so, but we know it's published. So to really publish this, to push it out, will help. The more we do, the more successful we will be. That is all I have. Does anyone have questions? I know I went through this very fast, but my understanding is you, this isn't new to you, and you've hopefully had a chance to look through the PowerPoint or the notes.
Or staffing, like, because I know all your staff isn't in school during the summer, right?
Correct. The health services follows the 10-month. So what is unique about this district is the RNs, those nurses who are not certified school nurses, they do get to start 3 days before certified staff. And that time in their building is used for exactly these purposes. So myself, and there's 3 other certified school nurses, we cannot come in until, well, we can, we just are volunteering hours. But we don't, our schedule isn't set to go until the teachers and then the expectation of following their schedule for the day. So there may be a need to look at the certified nurses and coming in the same time the RNs start. Because
It's not unusual in most districts that nurses are starting, even certified school nurses, 3 days, sometimes up to
Correct.
5 days prior to staff coming in. So it's kind of unique here that they actually start the same day as all the teachers do in the schedule.
And I could tell you from my past experience with Belvedere, all nurses, regardless of RN or certified, got 15 paperwork hours before their expected start date. And then in Rockford, the nurses got 5 days. Granted, Rockford's 38,000 students, so that's you kind of have to compare the days to the enrollment.
So if everyone was compliant, you don't see an issue with doing the paperwork to make sure everybody, in a perfect world, would start the first day?
Correct.
Okay.
I do anticipate people to be out of compliance. However, when we as nurses, when we are spending from middle of August to October 15th, chasing down paperwork, it is tedious and we burn up so many manpower hours. I wear several unique hats. So I am certifying CPR for our cardiac emergency response team. I do all the special education at Howard B. Thomas School. I've trained 2 new nurses this year on top of the CNA classes. So to have that done before, instead of me coming in and supporting multiple buildings because just the compliance was so low this year and hearing a lot of stressful nurses and noticing that it increased over this is my 3rd year here, it would be very beneficial. And then that way nurses can just focus right on, we get all the medications coming in the first week, we support the social workers as children have issues transitioning back into school, typically the younger ones. But we see it in middle school, some in high school.
My only concern is those doing all of the month and a half of work in 3 days of tracking people down who don't get it to you guys, so. Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, we average, I can only really speak for HBT this year, average about 40 to 50 office visits a day for sick, ill checks. That's not including, they have 11 prescribed medication administrations and 3 diabetics. So that is a lot of time focused there. Then like, I was able to process through 3 physicals in this little bit of time where that's all processed. We could just focus on what we need to do now that the students are in the buildings.
Yes, yeah, I understand that.
So, any other questions?
Do we know how many parents actually get their stuff in before the first day of school?
There is a large chunk. We really do. We have, each building has a box. If the building is staffed over the summer with office professionals, secretaries, that they could put it in. So probably, if I'm just guessing a percentage, I would probably have to say 60 to 65% come in before the first day. And with the unique, I shouldn't say unique, the funny thing about is it's October 15th, you call the night before, little Sally is not gonna be able to start school to stay if you do not come in. And if I used the name of someone's child, I apologize. They turn in their physical October 15th, and it's dated June 30th. Like, why? Why? And so that's all that time. And that was a lot of what we saw at PKMS. And do you have a child named Sally?
No.
Oh, okay. And I was like, oh boy, I picked the worst
I
name possible.
might have been late a time or two.
And, you know, like, and I would tell parents, I'm like, if you communicate with me, I am willing to work with you, and all the nurses are willing to work with you, and not to blatantly break the rules, but let's, you know, I like saying, I spoke with my boss, I have another 3 days, you know, like, okay, don't ask me who my boss is, I just said that right now, don't tell my principal. And they're like, I'm like, I did you such a huge favor, and they're really good, majority of the time they're really good. But it's these, oh, I left it in the car. Oh my gosh, they left the door open and it flew out. Like, we've heard it all. I mean, I've been in school since '04. I have heard it all. So.
The dog ate it.
How early can someone get a physical and still be legit?
Yes, they could get them right now. Physicals are good from, so let's say August 18th of 2026 is first day of school. I apologize, don't have it memorized yet. I'm still worried about this year. As long as that physical is dated August 19th of the 2025,
Yeah.
we are good. So it's within that year. And we don't worry about dental, and we don't worry about vision exams as exclusion. We do want them, but school code says we cannot exclude. The most a school district can do is withhold the fourth quarter report card if we don't have them. I've never known a school district to do that.
Well, I did bring up like doing a softer opening this year in DOT, like maybe this year do September 15th, and then next year move to the first day. But we'll wait for all those emails that say, you know, oh, well, the board changed it to the first day, so.
Yeah,
we'll welcome that. Hopefully you communicate well.
Yeah, it's better sometimes with things like this just to rip the Band-Aid off and get through that hard time. But then once we have changed the trajectory, people do get on board very quickly. And for more and more districts to be going this way, it shows me that it is working.
What's the delivery method? Is it still hard copies in hand, or can you go through my charts?
So we could either take an email, upload it. The state says we cannot take photos, not accept photos. We need a PDF delivered to us, or it could be hard paper in hand. My understanding is there might be some updates through registration, allowances that might allow parents then to update it through a registration process. But please don't quote me. I am just, that's what I've heard. So.
That's true. So what they would be able, they could attach it to their registration with whatever system we're using now, Skyward, Q, W, whatever. And parents can attach that to that as well. And so the nice thing about that is then that goes directly to the nurse office at the school that they're
And then we will also be lined up with athletics. Athletics does everything through their new, it was our school, but I think it's different.
Arbitrator.
What is it called?
Arbitrator or something,
Yeah.
arbitrator.
So they will not accept a hand-in. This is my understanding, what I've been told, that it has to go through that program, and that if it's not uploaded, not reviewed, signed off by whoever on their end does it, then they cannot participate in sports. So, all right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Me too.
So what we'd like to do is, have you think about it. That was presentation day. In April, we'll have on the agenda just to approve moving to a first day exclusion policy. You will, in April, you'll be approving the new policy manual, thanks to Scott and Andy and several others that are sitting in this room who worked with ISB to do that. The policy in there will be the October 15th policy, but we would make a second resolution stating that we would want to be moving that to first day exclusion. And then they would change that later on, if the board agrees to that. So if you have any questions during between now and then, please just let me know, and we'll move from there. And now up is Stephen Brooks about 4 textbook recommendations.
So today I'm going to talk about the Spanish for Heritage Speakers 1 course. That is a brand new course that's being offered for the first time this coming fall. So that course allows our native speakers to have a different educational experience in the Spanish language versus sitting through kind of, if you think, generic Spanish 101, you know, the basic level, which they have that skill set. So that was approved, I think, roughly a year ago or so. And so now we had to go back. We had to figure out the textbook, and we as in the teachers, because I don't select the textbooks, they go through a full textbook review. They've come up with Galleria as their selected choice, and this source also has an intensive online program that comes with it, and students will be able to interact via an e-version. Okay, we're going to only get classroom sets like our normal policy and practice of having tactile ones in the classroom, not making the kids carry them all around. We'll come with the subscription license. Kids will have access to it. They'll also have the ability to get what's called this super site access that has a whole bunch of activities that are embedded within it. And so we're super excited about this, and this is for level 1. In future years, of course, they'll be coming back for the level 2, but this is specifically for our first year of Spanish for Heritage Speakers 1. The rough total for this cost for our first adoption, there are 42 students that have signed up for this course. That is 2 sections. So we'll have 1 classroom set, and we will have the 42 electronic licenses on top of the 30 textbooks. Comes to $5,566.21. Okay, and I will continue to stay updated on those numbers with the vendor. The second textbook is our high school AP American Government book. Hopefully I have these in order. This is for our AP courses, and we have roughly, I think, 199 kids signed up next year for this. 3 sets of textbooks for our teachers. E-books as well for this, a 6-year, and both of these are for, okay, sorry, I need to slow down. This book is only for 1 year, and I want to explain why. The Spanish for Heritage Speakers, being it's the first year of the rollout, we have identified those 42 students. When we identified students for the next year, it is not at a full section yet, and instead of irresponsibly signing a multi-year contract, until we solidify the numbers for ongoing sections writing, I don't want to lock the district's money into overpaying, because when you sign your contract, you're paying for those seats regardless. So that is a 1-year contract, that $5,000, okay? Whereas the American Government, this class, we have the trend numbers of showing these numbers stay pretty consistent. We are doing a 6-year adoption to drop the cost, because the more years that we're able to push it out, they decrease the cost per seat over those years. So this one comes up to $34,629.43. It also is a recommended book for the AP course, and that is the direction we're going, both textbook sets and e-learning online. The next book is the Spanish 1 course. So as we changed over our foreign language, world language requirement, meeting the state recommendation, we have students taking Spanish 1, we have students taking German, we have students taking ASL. It was time to look for a resource for Spanish to support all the kids that are coming in. The Spanish 1 class, we're going with Senderos, and that is also going to come with the super site. It's made by the same company as Galleria, and that will also have an intense online material, and that comes up to $52,404.58. It's published by Vista Higher Learning. I'm waiting for the textbook sample copy. They gave us access. We piloted this via electronic, because that's where the reality of most of it sits. But we will be requesting 4 classroom sets, 2 classroom sets at CMS, 2 classroom sets at the high school, because students do start Spanish 1 at the high school as well. And so that would take care of what we need for the tactile hands-on textbooks, and all students will have the electronic version as well. And then lastly, psychology, AP Psych, as I'm losing track of my papers here. AP Psych, this textbook is not available in an electronic version, but it was selected as the best resource for our students to be able to be successful in AP Psychology. We are planning to purchase 150 textbooks. This is the same practice of what we're doing right now. The difference here is the students would have to carry it in this situation that are signing up for that AP course and carry it with them when they're using it. And it is aligned to College Board's course exam and the Foundations of Scientific Practices for this course specifically. Anybody have any specific questions about any of the 4 textbooks?
The costs again,
Oh.
because I don't know if it's my version, but I thought you said 5,000 for Heritage. This says 151, so I'm just
Yeah.
wondering what the difference is.
Yeah, so Heritage Speakers 1, so that's Spanish for Heritage Speakers 1 is $5,566.21
For the hardcover?
for the 1-year license for 42 students to have the electronic version and us purchasing a classroom set of 30, so that both sections, they have different periods, have access to it in the class. It also covers the professional development required and the teacher resources, the teacher resource materials that come with it.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
That's all encompassed in the $5,561.21.
Anybody else
The
looking
numbers
at?
on
Yes,
the numbers
no,
on
the numbers are off.
We're seeing completely different numbers.
Oh,
They're
okay.
different numbers.
Okay. I apologize for that. Let me go through the numbers again then. Okay, so then that was for Heritage. For your Spanish 1 course, that is $52,404.58. That is for a 6-year subscription for the seat licenses for all of them. I know your number probably is dramatically different. I was able to talk with the rep today. The problem is I had to convey to them the fact of if we're going to Spanish 1 with them, we reasonably have to have the expectation that Spanish 2, we're going to have to follow suit with this. They're aware of that now. They were able to dramatically, you can see, change the investment cost of what we would have to. And part of the rationale that the teachers were given is they had to find textbooks in both our Heritage 1, same company, and again, getting them on track of like, we're buying your Heritage version. We're also buying this for our Spanish 1, plus the likelihood that those 42 students are going to continue into Heritage 2, then the likelihood that our Spanish 1 students are going to go into Spanish 2, really bringing that point home to the salesperson and being like, I think there's something better you can do here. You can see that reflected in the numbers that I'm sharing with you verbally. I was able to take care of that this afternoon, and so I hope we appreciate where we're going and the direction of that investment, because I believe that savings alone is going to assist us on next year's investment in that single course that has that higher number. The AP American Gov, $34,629.43 is the cost. That again is a 6-year. It has the electronic version, 3 sets of classroom sets, so 30, 30, and 30, 90 hard book covers. All of these come with the teacher resources and access and professional development. And then the last one was the AP Psychology, and that is 120 copies of the textbook. There is not an online resource for that one again, for $26,456.85. That does not come with professional development the same as an online platform where the teachers get training on how to access the material, what resources are available. It's a little bit different. Okay. Does that help?
Yep,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, no, I get the error on the one side, but I wasn't real happy with some of the numbers, and then personally made some phone calls this afternoon.
Keep making those calls.
Yes.
Well, the other side is like the teachers, we've been in conversations, and the credit needs to be given to, Annetta Bliss and and Juana and, Jen Bustos and all the different Spanish teachers that were involved with those selections, are Tyler Clark and the different teachers that were involved with psychology and government. They're the ones that are doing the research, where we require them to still go through 3 different textbooks and review them side by side, by unit, by lesson, and the pros and cons of each one. So this is not an easy task in any sense of the term, of like, we just ask teachers to put their input and voila, we run with it. They're going through unit by unit for each thing as it aligns to our curriculum and how it works. So, and that's both on the electronic side and not. There is a more premier online access. We're starting with this one to financially be stable, and then we are going to still investigate the additional bells and whistles that could help our students, of course, but right now this is the platform that we want to have an online resource with as many textbooks as possible, not just on decreasing the weight, but the quality of what support material can support all our kids, especially in the world language area where all students now, for us, are going down that pathway of the 2 years. We don't want students struggling, right? So that's where we're going. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
These will be on display, and later, after we're over our 30 days, I'll come back for the actual approval.
Thank you.
So we bring up our architects to come present. I do want to just make a quick statement about this morning. Obviously, we had some interesting weather today. I want to thank Dan Palloway and his department, and Pam Porto and her department for being here at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, ensuring that things were ready to go today. 3 for his people, 4, 5, 6 for transportation, a couple trucks got destroyed. Anyway, so there was just a lot that was going on here. As you know, we're always in communication with the surrounding districts and everything, but thank you to Buildings and Grounds, and thank you for transportation, and thank you for the teachers for getting here, because with a lot of districts that are closed, sometimes it's challenging to get teachers here because their kids are home and stuff doing stuff, but it was a successful day and is now over, and thank you.
One less day at the end. I just want to say a couple things quick. So we're going to have presentations from Wold and STR, both our district architects. Wold will be presenting on their facility assessment that they've been working on. We've had a couple meetings reviewing that plan, that document. They're kind of working through that. That'll feed in to what STR is doing for us for our master facility plan. The time frame that they shared in their presentation is kind of what we've been talking about for a while. This is going to kind of be a year-long process, and it's going to kind of roll right into when Amy starts, so we can get feedback from her in this, and we're not handing her a final product. We're letting her have some opportunity to review it and talk about it and be part of the process. I want to thank them. STR spent a lot of time over the last 2.5 weeks. We've literally walked every square inch of every single building, completed PK and CT this morning. So we did both of those today. So we've been through every single building now. So now they can keep compiling their data. So I just want to thank both of them for all the hard work and the stuff that they've put into this process for us already. So turn it over to Matt. All right, I'm trying to get connected here to the video. While that is pulling up, I will just give you guys a quick reminder of kind of what the process looked like. Our team was out here for the better part of 4 or 5 months, a couple nights a week, coming out in the evenings after the students were gone, walking through all of the buildings, collecting all of the data that hopefully will connect to our screen here shortly. Let's just keep saying connecting as I want to jump on. Okay. Basically, we are focused on 2 things. One is the condition of the buildings as they sit today, and the other being items from your buildings that are starting to reach the end of their useful life. Most building components have roughly a 20 to 30 year life cycle. So even your buildings that are newer, like Country Trails, which was built in 09, we're starting to come up on that 20-year mark. So we're going to start to see some things popping up on this that are going to be due to replace in the not so distant future. Like I said, we walked the interior and exterior of all the buildings. The only thing we've got left to do from a building walk standpoint is the transportation building and the farmstead that we just talked about a couple weeks ago. So we're going to get out there the next couple weeks and wrap up those last two buildings and roll those into this as well. So far, what we found were about 770 different issues. So each one of these line items are all organized by building, whether it's exterior, interior, all of the different stuff. At some point, this will be obviously available to the district as part of the tool that you'll have moving forward where you can see that. But what we're doing right now is we're going through, there's a lot of repetition in this stuff, right? We go through and you start to see a lot of the same things. So we're consolidating a lot of those items. It's going to make it better, a little bit easier from a reporting standpoint and from a budgeting standpoint once we get to that point. We're also starting to then quantify everything. So a lot of the things that we're seeing are typical things for buildings that are this vintage. It's things like tuck pointing of masonry walls, sealant joints and walls and floors that the sealant just starts to dry out and it's got to be replaced on a regular basis, kind of that sort of stuff. Nothing really too significant. For the most part, the buildings are in great shape. You got a couple of facilities that are a little more worse for wear than others. I don't think that's anything that's too shocking. So it's really pretty standard stuff that you'd see on a maintenance plan. And what the beauty of this tool is that, well, you're going to have two deliverables basically under the project. You're going to have a report that's going to be that book that Dan refers to as his Bible. That is really the snapshot of where you are today. It'll have all of the data filled out, all of the priorities filled out, a budget for everything. It'll all be in there in a nice tabular format with some floor plans that show where each one of these issues are located within the buildings. But more importantly, I think the more useful thing is the spreadsheet. This is going to be a sortable document that you can use to push and pull things from the year of implementation and change the priorities as things become, break over time, or maybe you find something's in good shape and you can get a few more years out of it. It allows you to start aligning the work with your annual budget that you have from an O&M standpoint so that it become a useful tool for Dan and for Dana to really figure out where they need to put their efforts in a given year. Like I said, it's a work in progress right now. We've got most of the building walks done. Our partners at IMEG and at Erickson are going to start working on the MEP and the civil assessments here in the next couple weeks. They're going to start to filter that information to us, and we'll roll it into this spreadsheet and this tool as well, so that we're going to have one comprehensive report that's going to cover all of the things in the district that need to be addressed over any 10-year given period. So with that, any questions on any of it?
Two companies you just named, what do they do?
So IMEG is your mechanical and electrical consultant. You guys hired them directly. Same thing with Erickson. They're the civil engineering consultant that you guys work with directly.
All I'll add is that Matt presented some of these high-level findings to Facilities Committee last month, and it's a really thorough document. I'm pretty happy with how this is shaking out and look forward to seeing you guys wrap it up.
Great, thank you. And this will be obviously a big part of what will feed into what our friends at STR are getting ready to talk about as well.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alan Arbrust with STR. And master planning. The district has really commissioned these three legs of the stool. And first off, let me applaud the district, because you'd be surprised how many times district really fixate on the shiny new object and not to do the assessment. In recognizing that the only way to create a sustainable, holistic plan is to really incorporate taking care of what you have. You have a huge commitment and a huge investment in that, so everything has to be treated equally. I think the other thing about all our data, it applies to Wold's data and STR's data, is that all this is new data. It doesn't depend on any previous studies or anything like that, so it's all current data and looking forward data. I think that's maybe one of the key points about the whole operation here. Building evaluation in terms of capacity and utilization. Some of your previous studies, it was a hypothetical evaluation of capacity, really by square foot. Our approach is significantly different, where really are interviewing all the staff through the principals to really see how the buildings are really being used, how they have changed recently, and kind of understanding those obstacles that are really preventing you from doing things either the way you do it today or the way you want to do it tomorrow. And it's surprising how different that can sometimes be between the hypothetical and the practical. So it takes some legwork, but it really gives you a much better product. Why we do this thing is really, once we get this data compiled with the demographic data we'll talk about in a little bit, it really gives you the tools to do quality decision-making. Now, ultimately, we'll be able to predict the future and plan for the future that way. And that's probably the most challenging thing of the whole operation.
So as far as capacity assessments go, we're using your contractual agreement with the teachers in order to determine the class sizes, and just understanding that elementary and middle schools, you're really limited to capacity based on your core classrooms. So the special classrooms aren't used at the same time as your core classrooms are used, so those are really the only capacity generating instructional spaces in the school. High school is a little different because all instructional spaces contribute to capacity. There's no homeroom anymore, no teams. So they use just about every space, every instructional space at some point during the day. We look at that more as a utilization factor in order to determine that capacity. And then also just to really understand that the maximum capacity for a facility is really not the recommended capacity. So you want to be able to have the ability to schedule and accommodate any of those bubble years or a program expansion or something like that that goes along. So along those lines, we're using as our starting point the state guidelines for capacity and whether or not a facility is overcrowded, being used efficiently or underused. So you'll see those go on. As we create a core master facility plan team and incorporate input from the new superintendent and the other administrators, we may want to suggest different targets based on your goals, but right now this is where we're starting off. And then again, the space use surveys, we really just want to understand how you're using each space so that we can better understand how the programs are distributed and if there's any potential reorganization opportunities, and then all of that information can go into our capacity calculations to make sure that we have enough spaces and for the students. So this is our first phase of data gathering. We have engaged a lot of stakeholders to this point. We listed the ones that were as of last Wednesday, but since then we've actually toured all of the facilities and met with all of the principals. Alan sat down with the athletics director, Michael Sitter. Dan has been with me on all of the tours. And then we also gathered some information on enrollment and special ed information from the Human Resources Department. When we get closer when we get to the next phase, we're really wanting to look at that curriculum level, the admin cabinet level. We'll still need to talk to food service and transportation, and obviously engage the new superintendent, Amy, as well. So what we've done is the first couple of 3 buildings that we've visited, we were able to put together at least a baseline capacity calculation chart. This is all previous data, so you can even see the effect that the mobiles have had at Prairie View, where we had some red years and then we put in the mobiles, and so that made things more functional again. But this will set us up then when we get the information from the demographic study that will include the projected enrollment. Right now, we didn't have the final numbers for the 25-26 year, so right now it just goes up to 24-25. And this is for Prairie View. And then we kind of analyze that in conjunction with the space utilization plan. So for now, we've just kind of color-coded the instructional spaces so that we understand where the programs are shaking out across the building. We may want to add other categories as we start talking with curriculum and some of the other administrators, but this at least gives us a quick visual as to which rooms are the general ed classrooms that are capacity generating and which rooms are encore or special programs or special ed. And then we've been able to do the same for Lily Lake. So again, that building had some some growth issues, so we're working through that, and we'll evaluate that against the demographic study and showing the different programs across this facility as well, including the mobiles. We're able to get the space use plan kind of diagrammed for the high school, but we didn't get to that capacity plan just yet.
So recently, you commissioned the demographic study through Dr. Casarda. I acted as the intermediary. We're not related to them at all. They're a separate entity, and they're one of the kind of the gold standards in terms of demographers. Wold has had extensive experience with them. We certainly have. He's been a major player in the market for a long time. I think that the world of demographic studies has really changed post-COVID. Everybody was really in pretty good shape before that, but there's really an art to really predicting the future here, and we feel he's among the best, so that new data will be plugged into here, which will be incredibly valuable. I think one of the key things it'll do is it'll allow us the ability to align capacity with time, to be able to predict when that growth is coming, to create those thresholds for decision-making. So instead, we don't want to be surprised, we want to anticipate. It's a very challenging thing to do, but I have confidence in his ability to generate those numbers. Concurrently, we've analyzed all the building sites. There's certainly the obvious things of, classrooms relating to capacity, but there's often many other things. It's kind of interesting to see how the pinch points really pop up in unexpected ways. Sometimes the cafeteria is the issue. Sometimes the gyms are the issue. Parking, a classic example. And I think there's other issues, too, that relate to the site. Stormwater, and to use an easy example, Lily Lake. We know there's issues in terms of traffic flow and pickup there, but we also know it's right on 47, which is a state road. And they have a right-of-way, and you can't build within that. So really to put all that information in one place will really help determine what options are easy to achieve, which ones are more difficult to achieve, and which ones really aren't possible.
So just touching a little bit on some of the next steps. You guys have already started doing some of the things that we had asked of you, well, and also for Matt's team to get the facility conditions assessment rolling and started. We're working on the master facility plan. You've engaged the demographer. I think there's some checklist items that he may have just sent to Alan today that the district needs to provide to him. But the next biggest thing that we're going to ask is that a core team of people be assembled to help guide the decision-making on the master facility plan and some of the curriculum pieces and some of the new program pieces, and maybe even consider some community participation for that. And then some of our actions that are coming up, we've toured now all of the facilities. Our team is putting together all of that data. It'll probably take us, a little while to digest it all. And then we'd like to come back again and meet with the next level of administrators, the curriculum, the superintendents, anybody who's available to come meet with us. And I guess at that point, like Dan will have to kind of work on who is part of that team and what is that core decision-making group. And then we'll go back and update some things and review it with you. I think that the demography report had a 8 to 10 week duration time after they received the signed proposal. So that probably puts us around the end of May, beginning of June. So at that point, when we get that data, we can really start to analyze all the data that we've gathered so far against what's been projected. And that kind of sets us up with the ability to start exploring options, see where we are and explore those options about what we need to do with the challenges that are discovered during that evaluation in July-ish. So the full team is on board at that point. Can we answer any questions?
So I saw in Lily Lake's plan, you're using the mobiles for your max capacity?
At this point, we're just understanding that they are using those spaces in order to meet the core class needs. I think that if there is a goal for the district that would come from that administrative core team, that you want to eliminate mobiles, then we need to understand that, and then we can evaluate the spaces that are available and then what we need to do for expansion.
So is this the only school you're doing that with?
No, we have them shown at
I didn't see it.
Prairie View, it's kind of down in the corner.
Oh, down there.
Yeah, they have an odd year where they aren't having to use those mobiles for general education. They have a health class in there right now because she had an empty room and she was able to pull the other grades in. So this year it's not used, but they're there. So you know.
To your point, it isn't unusual to do it two ways. Do it with the
Right.
mobiles and do it without, so you can really see what the implications of that are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think we definitely want to do it without. I mean, I didn't know that was up for discussion, but
But I totally endorse your thought. I think we just want to take that lead from the group
Yeah.
so we can accommodate both.
I'd agree with you, Jeff.
we should definitely give them that lead.
Yeah.
I mean, it skews the numbers big time. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
I think it'll be important just because if you're looking at, and I understand you're looking at what is there available to us now for the data, but especially for the mobiles because they're such a hot topic, if we can get some numbers, what it looks like without those, especially at our elementary school level, which is where they are, that would be, I think, huge, at least for us to show the community, hey, if those mobiles weren't there, this is what our numbers are.
Yeah, it would be compelling. Yes.
Yeah, I think that the problem is everybody gets used to mobiles, and that's something nobody wants to get used to, but just to really recognize what the implications are. You have so many in so many locations, and some have been there for so long that I think it's really important to, put the hammer down and say, no more of that, and what does that mean?
Yeah, that's really ultimately why we're doing this, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For our community, I think we would like 0 mobiles across the district is what we'd be looking for.
Laudable.
That's great.
So we're looking forward to seeing what the data points us, and again, the opinion hasn't entered into anything at all, it is purely just data, so to give you those tools to do the decision-making, so, thank you very much, I'm really appreciative of turning over that, demographic study proposal, so we're really able to get rolling, and, we're really excited to see what the data is gonna be, because it's, you all have ideas what it'll be, but I guarantee it'll be different.
And we really appreciate all the time the principals have devoted to us. I mean, they walked with us through every building and every space, and it was a huge help for us to understand how they're using their buildings and where they find challenges or opportunities within their own facilities. So, thanks.
It was interesting to see how their experience affected everything. Some are relatively new, so they're able to bring the examples, well, I used to do it this way, but I have to do it this way now. And just walking through that, and even Lily Lake being relatively new, that perspective is actually really helpful, because when you're in a district in a building too long, you get used to it. They make it work. Educators are just amazing about how they make things work. That doesn't mean that's the way it should be, and to try to cleanse them of that baggage to really move forward to what is really efficient and what will really give them flexibility and the ability to accommodate new programs is really exciting. So you could tell once they really kind of got with the program, they really bought into it big time. So, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next items are our committee reports. The first one up is the policy committee. Anybody want to give an update on?
I can take that one. So, Policy Committee has met twice over the last couple weeks now to review updates to our policy manual. Just as a little bit of a refresher, we are in the process of moving to IASB's Press Plus service, which is basically their service that helps us keep our board policy manual up to date and in line with current laws, regulations, everything that is part of Illinois School Code. So a lot of this information, or a lot of the policy manual, is sort of mandated to us by state law, which is my understanding, but we do have some optionality. So staff reviewed, Scott and I reviewed with staff the things that are optional and which way we wanted to go, and really appreciate the work of everybody on staff who was part of that process. Those were a couple pretty long meetings, so. Scott, anything to add to that?
You got it.
As a reminder, we use Press currently for all of our policies. We were just not using the online service, and it was all a manual process. So after this is all adopted, all of this will then be, and it's a prescription pay-per-fee for this, but ISB will then host this.
Yeah.
It'll allow the updating to go more smoothly. It will be easier to sort through and find them than they currently are. And it will just make it much easier, as I look to Angie, who will be doing all that in the future. It'll be just a lot easier. All the updating and everything will be there. So this was an arduous, onerous process, but it should be much easier from here on out than for all those. So thank you to Scott and Andy and to Dana and Matt and Sarah and Stephen and Grady and Brian for going through every one of the policies. We're almost done.
Our next committee is DLT.
DLT was the shortest DLT meeting ever, probably. All we did was go over e-learning plans again, kind of talked about them. Kyle asked what the favorites were. Kalen and Geneva seemed to be the top two. Amy chimed in and said, well, Huntley has one, so I'm going to throw in my few cents when she gets here. So it'll probably come to fruition possibly then. We'll see. But yeah, and then Kyle introduced Amy to everybody. Amy introduced herself, and we all talked for a while and finished early. Hung out, had a couple waters, and waited for Kat to start. So.
All right, next up is Kat.
Do you want to take it or do you want me?
You can go ahead.
Okay. We got some updates on safety and security with that. Also talked about some technology updates. The elementary school students K through 5 are going to we're looking at not letting them take their Chromebooks home anymore. We're going to keep them in the schools. They'll charge in the schools overnight. That way it kind of reduces the wear and tear that, kids lugging them back and forth because they noticed that they weren't really using them for any schoolwork at home. With that, they would be able to take them home for like extended closures if needed to do schoolwork on that, or even being able to kind of check them out, sort of thing. And then we'd also kind of keep them in the schools over the summer as well.
And those continue to be conversations that we're having with the staff in regards to that. Kindergarten in particular currently is not, they aren't taking them home. First, second, we're looking at some of those lower grades initially, but then even in the upper grades based on that.
My fifth grade daughter doesn't use them at all.
So additionally, looking at ongoing conversations with teachers in regards to that.
Right. Then we talked about the advanced learning program. Kim Paulus was very excited and feeling good about this program. Kind of rolling out, it's rolling with, starting with the 4th graders, right? Yep. And so kind of using, you could probably explain a little bit better than I can then, but we would be using teachers that are in the schools, one teacher, and they would pull out for math. And take the students that were aligned, and whatever teacher then, like if they were pulling X amount of students out, she'd have like, say 11 left, those would be dispersed amongst the other 4th grade teachers. And so we have somebody in each building being able to pull out for math and do
Looks a little different in each building based on the way the buildings are structured, but it's theoretic, it's a replacement program with utilizing staff that is there. In most cases, the core homeroom teachers that are there already.
Mm-hmm. Then we talked about the Heritage Spanish that Stephen brought up with the books tonight, and that going on for students. We also talked about American Sign Language. We have 1 full class at CMS that is going to be starting next year, and we have 3 full classes at the high school, which I'm really excited about. Tried to get my son to do it, but he didn't want to do the American Sign Language. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how that program works out and how, if that can carry along as another world language for our foreign language requirements. But also in that, there was discussion that we're looking at further, is ISB looking further into it, that it's either going to be like a world language or CTE kind of certification on that. And one of those would qualify for what the state needs. And then again, we met Amy for another round, and that was about it for that.
And then I want to have Stephen, because Ryan and I, neither one were at CCC, so Stephen's going to just give a 30-second pithy overview of CCC.
So today at CCC, we went over 7 course proposals. One of them is a high school course proposal, AP Art History. And then we went over 6 possible proposals that could be implemented in 6th grade and 7th grade because of the choice that Kyle has mentioned a couple times at the board meetings, where students will have they're still just going to have 4 slots for that wheel rotation, but giving them the option to pick one of very high interest so that we could get them into that student choice. And that's going to be voted on very soon to get that approved, because it impacts hiring and scheduling and all of those concepts. There's still stuff being worked out within our subject area committees and CCC, but that's kind of it in a nutshell without going into too much detail. So, but we're making good progress. The last part we talked about was the bylaws, and those we're hoping to have approved because we've been reviewing those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is our information items, which is our FOIA reports, and the information is included in the board packet for that. And next is old business, and on here we have board discussion regarding board town halls and coffee discussions at the different schools.
Okay, I know we had discussed once we took care of the superintendent business and got that settled, we would start pushing towards this. When would be, I think we've already said that we want to do it, that everybody's willing to do it. So when do we put this on paper to actually initiate it?
I would suggest that you wait until your superintendent's on board. And I think as soon as that happens, in July, you could start having those things set up. I think it'll be helpful because I think you can then work on finalizing a strategic plan, right? You'll get that information from there, but it'll also, by that time, you will also start having some more information about the facilities. And you're going to want to be sharing, talking, and gathering information about that kind of at the same time as well. So I would think that that would be, from a standpoint, that'll be the most beneficial, and you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And 2 things will happen too. Number one, you'll get out there and get into the groups, but it'll get Amy out there as well. And people will get to know her and be able to interact with you, 1 or 2 of you at a time, right? And at these town halls.
So is this something that we would want to look at maybe for, obviously in the summer, we're not going to have a whole lot of, I wouldn't see the community.
Yeah, you know your community best if, if people are around or not.
So if we're looking at something maybe after the school year gets started for the next school year.
August, yeah.
And give it maybe a decent amount of time so that everybody gets acclimated and then start something like this. Does that make the most sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would get them, they're not official board meetings, right? So you don't have to calendarize them. I would have them as Amy and a cabinet member maybe, and then 1 or 2 of you at those. And then, rotating around at different sites. And certainly you've got the buildings. It's not like you have a lot of community centers and places like that. But if there are opportunities to, if there are places that where people hang out, to go, those are, it's not bad to do those too. And even if they're at local churches and different things like that, those are okay, because sometimes those are some places where people like, hey, you know what, you're going to get a crowd of people who will show up there. If it's at the schools, and that's great too, but know that sometimes people feel a little intimidated coming in and talking to schools. So, you all know best because you live here, where are those places where people hang and where you're going to get a good showing and a good turnout. You don't need like 100 people. You don't want that necessarily, but getting a good 20, 30 people is a nice engagement.
Works for me.
All right. So something that we'll discuss then in a few board meetings again, I'm guessing, just to set it all up. Okay. All right. Next, we're moving on to agenda items for our April meeting. Right now, we have down the policy manual adoption and the textbook adoptions that we heard about tonight. Is there anything else?
Ryan, I'm not sure if this is necessarily an agenda item for the April meeting, but we just got an email today about a ISB workshop called Board Readiness for its Superintendent Transition. Wondering if that's something that might be of interest to us. I'm just looking at it right now. It just says contact the outreach director to learn more.
The other thing that
Makes sense.
I would encourage you to consider is ISB, you're allowed to do a closed meeting with an ISB director. You probably have done them before, maybe, but they come here and it's basically, you all get together, you talk about sort of procedures, policies, how you're gonna work together, and some different things like that. And again, having a new superintendent here, and actually many new board members over the course of the year, right? That's a beneficial thing to consider as well. They book up, there's about two people that are available. They book up really, really quickly, so you just need to find a date that works, and get something on the calendar. And it's March, so you could probably still get a date in the summer, if you could find a date that you could all work. Usually that's about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, usually 2 hours is good with that. And Jeff, I don't know how long you or Morgan, if you remember how long you guys have taken, that's been about.
2:30 probably.
Yeah, maybe, no more than
Yeah,
3.
A little bit longer, yeah.
Okay. Any other items?
Oh, possible subject, I heard the rumor of high school starting later next year, so if that's true, then I'll put that on. If it's not,
It may be like a 3 or 5 minute start late, yeah.
6, I'm at 8.
Like
Like what
8:05. We're still working on how it fits into the middle school schedule,
Right,
so, yeah.
so maybe discuss that,
Yeah.
just to let us know,
Yeah.
because to me, that's contractual in a way, depending upon how it's structured. You know, I mean, like where are the kids gonna go, what are they gonna do? Unless the, middle school also, so then the busing would be whatever, later.
Yeah, so it's aligned, right, we can talk about that in April, but just so know that we're basically looking at the two schedules and aligning them so that it's similar to what it is now.
Just
Right,
later.
so that it's just, there was some earlier conversations where the middle school was gonna start like at 7:15. That doesn't exist anymore, so really they're more aligned with the current contractual times, and in the same way that the students would be getting on or off the buses in a similar manner.
So that'd be a good topic
Yeah,
for next
yeah.
month.
So talk about
Like
that,
information, I guess,
information
like how
about the
that
middle
day
school, high
looks
school, and how
compared
that
to-
starts, yeah,
Yeah, that'd be good.
perfect. I also have a whole list in my office of things that'll be on there that are not as exciting as all these things, but we'll get them on there too.
Well, that's because we brought these up. so,
I know.
you know, they're awesome.
All right, at this point, we're going to, well, I need a motion and a second required to adjourn open session and move to a closed session for the following exceptions. I'll read those in a minute. So can I get a motion and a second to go into closed session?
You actually have to read those while you do it,
I thought I'd do that after we get the motion in a second.
and you can do that too, I guess.
Do it now or after?
In a second, go, now you can. do it.
Okay. The appointment, employment, resignation, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, 5 LCS 120-2C1, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, 5 LCS 120-2C2. And roll call, please.
Hurst,
Yes.
Rivka,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Dogan,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Ward, or Wasson.
Yes. And I don't believe we have any action items.